And that's kind of sad that you have another existence when you're with your family and with your friends. But even like we were talking, I remember when in my neighborhood, when my mom first bought our property, we moved from a predominantly black area that was lower SES. And my mother was real young, but she really handled her business, went to school, took care of the business, and we moved out. So I remember when the white people moved, I remember thinking, uh-oh, you know, the white flight, uh-oh, it must mean that, you know, the school system is going to be bad. And I remember my mother was going to send me to another school because she didn't want me to go to school, you know, in that area, you know, anymore because all the white people were leaving. So that meant all the teachers and the houses were up for sale. And it was around that time when people were talking about all the people from like the projects were moving out towards the suburbs. We moved from Chicago to the suburbs. And so, but it ended up, they changed the border, so I went to a school that was more racially diverse. But then even when they moved the borders, it was amazing because that community was mostly a Caucasian community. Again, white people left. And guess what they said about the school now? The education is terrible, supposedly. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Ari, you had told a story last time we spoke about when you recognized some things, reactions that you had when you were working in a store about people of color coming in. Do you recall? That was in your awareness.
I was a manager at a store in Champaign, and I noticed that, and I noticed this is something that I was doing. I was discriminating against my own people. Black people would come in the store, and I would monitor and observe when white youth come in the store and white and black youth would come in the store, and I would base it upon, and that's what killed me when I had to think about it, was how they looked, how the group was, what they were talking about when they walked in, and I would do exactly what I didn't like being done to me. I walk down the room, I walk from behind the register. I'm trying to see, you know, I go up to them, I say, hey, how you doing? What do you need? You know, oh, we okay? We just walking around, and they're walking around, and I study my own people a lot. So we walk in groups, you know, and that's for a person who may get fired from his store coming up in a lot of loss prevention. You walk with that group. So I'm walking with the group, and I'm monitoring them, and I'm noticing that they just looking. But it's trained, you know, I was trained to really look and monitor young black kids between the ages of 15 to 25. You know, watch them. You know what I'm saying? When young white kids come in, if they came in individuals, you know, they cool. They come in twos, they cool. But you get to 3, 4, 5, then I'm looking too because it's too many. But I just found myself looking at African Americans the same way, and was targeting them the same way that I was being targeted. And it just taught me that that I am a part of the problem. Okay? What do? I don't know. What I tried to do was do it for everybody. I followed everybody. Because I realized that I still needed to watch my store. I don't want to make judgments about people, but I was judging my own. I was judging my own, and I wasn't doing the same thing to blacks or African Americans as I was doing to Caucasian or white Americans. I wasn't following in the same way. I wasn't always, when I would go up to a white person, I sometimes in my mind I knew they was willing to buy, so I was willing to sell. I'll go up to a black person, I say, would you need some help with anything? No, I'm just looking. I'm not really trying to buy nothing, and then I wouldn't press it. So I said, okay, you are part of this cycle. So then what I would do is just hit everybody. I'm following you. I'm asking questions. I'm selling everybody because I realized something. Money is green, and yeah, there are racist business people that have businesses with people that are ignorant. Not racist business, but people who work behind those registers and open up those doors and work there. And some they have some ignorant racist people, but money is green. So I had to really come at everybody the same way and try to not follow everybody around if I was curious, and target everybody as far as trying to sell something to them, you know, my own as well as those outside of my culture. But at first, I worked with the company about 2.5 years, and for about a year, I was really targeting my own people, and that scared me.
But it's no different than, you know, teaching our kids. I mean, like for me, I teach my son. already, you know, look for this, don't do that. And it would be nice, you know, on one hand, you're sitting in these multicultural classes and you're talking about, okay, moving forward and trusting and all this other stuff. But, you know, the reality for me sits in really quickly and saying, okay, we can talk about this in class, but I need my son to go out prepared. But in some sense, then I still perpetuate, you know, this same cycle, but it's like, which is more important to me right now? It's more important that my son knows how to go out and deal with police, as opposed to saying, if you want to wear your pants without the belt hanging down your behind, go ahead. I won't dare let him go out of the house like that.
You know better.
You know, but if he wants to be comfortable like that, I should let him be comfortable like that. But I don't, because this other part of me kicks in and says, okay, no, you can do that at home. Don't go out in public like that. So, internally, you know you're doing that. You're just
the same cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to explain that to like my male cousins and my brothers. You know, they like their waves in their hair, so they wear their do-rags and stuff. And it's like a lot of my, more mature relatives, myself included, even though I'm still of the young bunch, I just have a lot of old-fashioned values, if you will. And life experiences have taught me you can't go outdoors looking like anything.
That's true.
Or looking like the particular group that's targeted by police or get picked on, for probably shoplifting. You have to present yourself in a conservative manner. And if you're not conservative looking, then you better believe you're going to be an outcast, and it's going to draw some uncomfortable attention to yourself. Yeah. And I had to explain like bit by bit to my youngest brother, because he clearly did not get it. And he's told me thank you after I had to take it bit by bit. See, his experiences wasn't like my older younger brothers and mine. So we have to school him. We have to teach him.
That's right.
Life was better for us financially when he came along.
Right.
As a family. But us older kids, we can remember living. We can remember living in a 2-bedroom apartment, having to share the same bed. Having to share the same room, everything. And the kids kept multiplying, but we still had to share tight quarters. But it's not like that for him. His dreams are much bigger. Our dreams was like, okay, they were big for the time, but they weren't nearly as big as his. We would have never thought of wanting an in-ground backyard pool. That was just unfounded to us. So for him to have to hear that, you don't wear do-rags, any kind of scarves. You don't see me going outdoors in rollers, do you?
Right. Exactly.
You don't see me going to the store in house shoes. Or, just looking.
Yes.
If it's not conservative or, I can't do that, because it fits a stereotype and it draws attention in a way that's not, it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
You don't want to set yourself up for that.
And that's why I don't understand when we have brothers and sisters who do that, because you're already targeted. You already know, no matter where you go, you know what I'm saying, if you walk out the house with your pants hanging down, a do-rag on, house shoes, or looking crazy, you gotta know that people are gonna look at you and say, I wonder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta know that.
Yeah, but it's that mixed message we're sending.
Yeah.
Like I said, we send them a mixed message. I mean, I tell my son, okay, you can hang out like this at home, but don't go out in public like this. You talk this way at home, but don't talk like this in public. I mean, it's like, for them, the other thing for them is that they're so sheltered. Our kids are really very sheltered by us. They're with us a lot. They are in activities where, they went to a predominantly black school, and now, even though my son is at a pretty much all white school, he has learned how to just adapt from one situation to the next. And so we really are teaching them that, and it would be really wonderful if everybody had this class, like in 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade every year, and you could say racism would be, wiped out somehow. But I don't know how to get past teaching him that when I know that still perpetuates
That's right.
racism. It's still those stereotypes and all that stuff.
I know the reality is that that's the world we live in. And so the reality is that I don't have children. We don't have children right now. But we one day desire to have a child or two. Okay, and I know that I have to learn from my experiences. I know we're gonna make mistakes in what we teach them, but the fact of the matter is that we're gonna have to teach them that they will have different faces.
Yeah.
They got to have, it's not fair. No, it's not fair. They got to have different faces because we are people that have to act on survival. We don't have to think, oh, this is what I want to do first, then survival. We have to think survival first and then map our plan off the survival.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the way it is. I know my mother had me dressed. I was the oddball kid growing up. Okay? I just want to let you know, she put me out there real bad. I won't ever do that to a kid ever again. My mother and my dad. My dad couldn't dress, and my mother, I don't know what what she was trying to do was trying to make me not look like the neighborhood in which I was from. So I wouldn't get targeted by the kids in the neighborhood and people outside the neighborhood. It ended up happening anyway because I looked like I stood out like a sore thumb. I mean, I was wearing sweaters, expensive $300 and $400 sweaters in a community that didn't even really wear sweaters. You know what I'm saying? And I was really dressing out of my class of social peers, and I felt like an oddball doing it. And I understood why she was doing it because she explained it, but I didn't like it. And it wasn't until I got out on my own and began to experience the ugly faces of the world, then I began to put two and two together. So I realized that there will be things that we will have to pass on to our children about the realities of African Americans in America. I don't know what it is in African Americans in Africa, and I don't know what it is about African Americans in Europe, but I do know about African Americans in America. And I know that I will have to teach my daughter or son that you're going to have some faces, and you're going to have to think survival, and you can still enjoy your youth and do that at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? And I think if we continue that cycle, then our kids will continue that cycle. And though they know that they can shoot for the stars for their education, they know they can be anything they want, but they also know that when you're around your people, there's some survival techniques you have to do within your own culture, and then there's some different sets of survival techniques that you have to do outside of your culture in order for you to be successful in both.
Anything.
But you're gonna scrape your knee a little bit. I've scraped my knees.
You gotta
You gotta learn
know.
though.
But you gotta learn.
You gotta know which tools to bring out the toolbox at the right time.
You sound like my mama.
Ain't put the circle peg in the square, huh?
Yeah, right. And that's just like when talking. You know, just like you were saying, you had to learn how to. And that was my same experience. It's like I was going through identity crisis when I came to Champaign for the first time to enter in 6th grade because I was in accelerated classes. Who was mostly in accelerated classes? The white children were, okay, and maybe 1 or 2 Asian kids, okay. And if there was someone from the Middle East that just so happened to come in, they were there too, after they learned the language, of course. But it was just really something. And I was like, I wasn't liked by the black girls for a while. For the ones that were in the more remedial classes. You know, they had they said she thinks she better than, you know, who does she think she is? I can't stand her. Didn't even give me a chance to even express how I was. And then she talk white, she act like she white, and she's smart. You see what class she in, right? You know, and it was maybe one other African American girl that was in there, but she had to deal with some of the same things. But I think because she grew up in a similar neighborhood as them, I don't think she got ridiculed as much. But by me living in a white side of town, I even got that more from black friends. So it took that whole middle school experience. I didn't really start picking up any black friends to my 8th grade year, and then they said, you know, I thought you were like this, but I see you're not like that at all. Then it took even into high school for some others. They said, I used to think you were stuck up.
I
was thinking that, you know, and one guy just told me, he said, after hearing of some of the guys that you dated, clearly, you know, from the hood, you know, and you know that's a different story in itself, where just opposites attract. But we won't go into that. It's a whole nother
Right. It's a whole nother culturally.
See, that's the other face that I was talking about.
Right, but you're right. There are different faces, and it was like he just had to tell me, and my mouth like almost fell open because I was like, finally, you validate me for the person that I am. He was like, I used to always think that you were stuck up. But he said, Melinda, you're not stuck up. He said, I got that confused with sophistication. I just didn't know what And I was just,
He was
just
rapping.
like, oh. No, he knew not to because I shook him in a minute. But he knew I couldn't get with him like that.